Hello guys, and welcome once again to Savannah Essence. I hope all of you are doing well. So in one of my videos, this let me see which one this is it. The DIY gloves leave-in conditioner for hair growth with recipe. I got a question from Dino Selly. Sorry if I butchered your name. And she said that, so if I want to make for a 250-gram batch, how do I calculate the amount of raw materials to use? So in this video, we're going to learn about how to convert recipes into your desired sizes. So for instance, I make a body butter like this, and maybe this weighs around 300 grams, and you want to make it, but you want to make it in a smaller quantity because you are testing it out to see if it will work. You want to make something maybe as small as this, so you would want to convert it. And usually we give you our recipes and the quantities that we use them, so in ounces or in grams. So how are you going to be able to convert them to the sizes or your desired size that you want? And so for that particular question, my response to her was that you would have to recalculate this batch into percentages and convert it into 250 grams. Can you do that? And she said, not really. Could you please show me how? And so this video, there's going to be a lot of maths, a lot of teaching, a lot of talking mathematics. And I am here with my formula board and my so we're going to get into the nitty-gritties about how to recalculate your batch, every single batch that you have or you see on YouTube, on Pinterest, or wherever you get your recipes from. You want to resize it, make it bigger or make it smaller, how to go about it. Now, the first thing you need to know is that when it comes to cosmetic formulations, recipes are calculated based on the weight of the item, not on volumes or ounces, or based on cups or spoons, because that's not a spoonful of a powder to you might weigh differently to another person. And so for standardization, you always want to ensure that you use something that is global, that is well accepted everywhere, or that is a standard. So 1 gram in Ghana is 1 gram in the US, is 1 gram in Canada, is 1 gram in Kenya, is the same. And so for cosmetic formulations, we usually weigh our products by the weight. And also in cosmetic formulation, if I say that I am making this and the total batch size is 200 grams, it means that this is a whole, this is complete. So this means it is 100%. So if my batch size is 200 grams, then that means that it is complete. That's all of it. There's not some left. If there were some left, you'd have said, oh, okay, maybe it's 99.9%. But my batch size, my total batch size is 200 grams. That equals to 100% of my total batch. These are just the two things that you need to know. Cosmetic formulations is done in terms of, or recipes are done in terms of weights, or so it could be ounces, it could be grams, it could be kilograms, it could be whatever it is. And also the total batch size of any cosmetic products is usually 100% of it, so all of it. So if I say that, oh, I am making a gloves leave-in conditioner and my total batch size is 250 grams or 350 grams in the case of this recipe that I made, then that means that 350 grams is my whole batch. That's the whole size of it, and that equals 350 grams. And also, before you can convert recipe, that's the third thing that we need to know. Before you can convert any recipe, you need to know, the only thing you need to know is the total recipe and the total batch size. So you need to know what is in that product. So if this is a body butter, what is in this body butter? I need to know that. And then number two, I need to know what is the total batch size of this body butter. That's the only thing you can do. You need, and you can reformulate this. You can make this in like a big jar. You can make this in smaller quantities. Those are basically just the two things you need. You need a recipe itself, and then you need to know the recipe with the quantities and everything in there, the formula, everything. And then you also need to know the total batch size. Now that we know that, let's get into the mathematics, okay? Let me just state that I am a nerd. So I am a mathematics geek. In my first degree, I did actuarial science. So I sleep, eat, and drink mathematics. It comes easy and natural to me. So in case I explain it in such a way that it's a bit fast paced, just let me know. But also, I've tried to make it as simple as possible so we can all follow along and then get through with this. This is actually very beginner. So if you're a beginner, this is something that you might need to know. But if you've been doing formulations for quite some time, this should come easy and natural to you. So let's get into the calculations. Okay. All right. Okay, so we already know the two fundamental things like total batch size is equals to 100%. So let's say that, for instance, if you have a recipe where the total is 250 grams, and that means that equals to 100%, okay? Or you can total the items in the recipe, and when you add it up, let's say it adds up to 400 grams, and that means that means that 400 grams is equals to, in percentages, 100%, or let's say it's 40 ounces, that's the total, then that is also equal to 100%. So that's something that we need to know and then keep at the back of our minds. You can always total somebody's recipe and then you know the total batch size. So let's use 300 grams as our example in this case. So the recipe, the person says that, let's say it's a cream, okay, and the total is 300 grams, and the water quantity for this cream was 140 grams. But we noticed that the cream was a bit thicker, and we want ours to be a bit, lighter. So we know that we need to increase the water quantity, but we don't know by what margins are we increasing, because if you just increase it anyhow, you might end up spoiling the recipe. And so we need to be able to convert it into percentages to get the actual water percentage, so we can now know whether we can increase it or decrease it. So we already know that 300 grams is equal to 100%. And we know that the water quantity for this recipe is 120 grams. What we don't know is the percentage. Okay, so we can use a question mark, or I usually like to just write, I don't know. But let me just rewrite that. Whenever you are writing your recipes, make sure that the units are aligned. So wherever grams are, so it's 300 grams, the next gram amount you are writing it below that. And then if it's a percentage amount, when you are writing it below the percentage amount, quantity. So you realize that 120 grams is below the 300 grams. That's how you write it, because we're going to use this as a formula to calculate. So, like I said, I always say that what I don't know, I write I don't know, and I shorten it into IDK. When we were in school, they used to use X or Y, but X or Y really doesn't make sense in this case. So I use IDK, which means I do not know. Now, in math terms, what we do is what we call a cross multiplication, or just diagonal multiplication. Or sometimes people say if less, more divide, if more, less divide, that kind of thing. But it's a diagonal multiplication. So wherever you just use an arrow to cross check, make a cross, okay, and then you cross multiply them as such, like I'm showing you. So that's a diagonal multiplication. So you multiply your I don't know value by 300, and then you multiply your 120 by your 100. Wherever your I don't know is, whatever figure is, always divide it by the I don't know figure and the other figure at the other side of the equal to. Like I said, I'm a maths geek, so some of these things. And then when you do that, you just do a normal cancellation. There's a simple formula to get this, but before you even get to the formula, sometimes you need to understand what came about. So when you do that, when you do that, you divide everything by the figure after the I don't know. The I don't know in this case, the figure after it is the 300. So when I do the division, I can cancel out the 300s from the I don't know side. So it's left with the I don't know value. Then the next side, I multiply the 100 by the 120. I get 12,000. Then if I divide that also by 300. So the figure here will be 100 times 120, which is 12,000, divided by 300. So my I don't know figure will now be, I need to do mathematics. So at this point, you can use your phone, or you can use whatever calculator you have. You can do simple cancellation and you'll be able to get your figure. So our I don't know figure here is 40. So that means that 120 grams, the water amount, which is 120 grams of the 300 batch, is equal to 40%. So now if you want to increase your water amount, you can increase this to maybe 45%, and then get the other percentage quantities of the other ingredients and adjust it accordingly, so that you do not spoil the recipe. If not, you cannot just get up and say, oh, I'm increasing the water amount by 180 grams. What of your emulsifier? How then do you calculate that? What of your, your co-emulsifiers, your preservatives? How do you calculate that? So usually you need to always get the percentage amount. That's how you can recalculate a formula. That's how you can adjust it. You can increase a formula, you can reduce a formula. And that's the only way we can. We always need to reconvert it to the percentages. When you have it in percentages, you can lower it. Maybe you don't want to do it in 300 grams, you don't want to do it in 400 grams. You want a much more smaller quantity, then you can always do that. So whenever you are converting a weight to a percentage, most of us, especially when it comes to YouTube, we share our recipes by weight, right? So whenever you want to convert the weight into percentage, like I said, you want to reformulate it, you want to resize it, you want to increase the quantity, you want to now pick maybe my smaller recipe and then sell it. So you want to increase it. Maybe I made 250 grams, but you now want to make like 1,000 kgs of it. How do you go about it? So the formula is always 100 multiplied by the known quantity. So, for instance, if I share that my water amount is 120 grams, then you know that quantity. So, it's always 100 multiplied by the known quantity divided by the total batch size. So, if you want to convert your weight to your percentage, so in this case, when I was converting my 120 grams to whatever percentage I didn't know, I had to multiply my 100 by the known quantity. The known quantity here is the water quantity, which is 120 grams, and I divided by the total batch size, which is 300 grams. So that's how to always go about it. So if I'm converting 40 grams to a percentage, I don't know what the percentage is, but I know the total batch size, and I know that 40 grams, let's say it's for the emulsifier, is going to be 100 multiplied by 40 divided by the total batch size, which is 300. And I'll get the quantity for that one. So usually these are the simple ways to easily convert recipes. Like I said, whenever you pick a recipe and you want to, let's say the emulsifier that I use, you don't have that. And emulsifiers have usage rates. The one you have, you need to be able to reformulate. Maybe my emulsifier, the highest amount I can use is 5%. Your emulsifier, the highest you can use is 2%. You can't pick my recipe and use it. And simply because you don't have my emulsifier, you don't have to always copy every single thing that the formulator uses. You can tweak recipes to suit you or to make it the way that you want it to be. So again, you keep on converting 150 grams, you want to convert it to a percentage, and you know the total batch size is 300 grams. You can always, use that formula 100 multiplied by the known quantity divided by the total batch size, and then you can always get its percentage. So I want to know the percentage of 50, then that's how to go about it. So this is a simple formula. This is how to simply recalculate this. And so my sister who asked me the question, you want to resize that recipe from 350 grams to 250 grams. You need to recalculate the percentages of each of the items. And you remember in one of the videos, I asked you people whether you like me to share the recipes in terms of percentages or in terms of the actual grams. And most of you said you wanted it in grams. So that's why I keep sticking to grams. And so that's how to go about that one. Now let's use a case in which I share the recipe in terms of percentages. But you're a beginner, you don't really know what that means. You actually just wanted the exact quantities, let's say in terms of grams. So you can also make your own just the same way I did. So in the same vein, you do the calculations in the same vein. But in this case, like I said, you know that the percentage is 40%, but you don't know the amount in terms of grams. So you put the percentage, the 40 at where the percentage is. You remember the last time we put the gram amount, the 120 grams below the 300 grams. But this time is the percentage that you know. So you put it under the 100. And you do the same cross multiplication like we did for the other one. And then again, use your I don't know instead of your X in this case. You do your cross multiplication. So you multiply your I don't know, the diagonal by the 100% and then the 300 by the 40. And you divide whatever is in that equation by the figure after the I don't know figure. So in this case, the figure is 100. And so I divide the I don't know by the multiplied by 100. I divide that by 100, and the 300 by 40 I also divide it by 100 again, and then I do the cancellation, and then I do my multiplication. And so when I'm done, my I don't know figure is 120, and so that means that 40 grams 40% is equal to 120 grams, and this is using 300 grams as your total batch size. Like I said, you always need to know the total batch size. So even if the owner doesn't give you that, oh, this batch is 300 grams, you can add up the items she listed in her recipe, and it will tell you the total batch size in this case. So for this, whether in grams, whether in ounces, this is how you can do it. You can always easily convert it. I am familiar with grams, so I'm going to be using grams a lot more. So let's do the same for, let's say, 50%. So if it's 50%, it's going to be the same thing. You continue to do the 300 by the, we are going to consistently use, let's say, 300 as our batch size to do most of the illustrations in this case. So it's going to be the same. 300 is equal to 100. I don't know, is equal to 50%. And then I do always, don't bother about the units of measurements. Just know where the unit of measurement is, but in calculations you can just leave it out. You can cancel them out, but I didn't think that was actually quite necessary anyway. Just know that this is the quantity or the unit of measurement you are using in this case. So again, when you do this mathematics, this is uh, the outcome that you get. So for the formula for this one, again, I just didn't want to share formulas without, getting to the reason why, because I don't use the formulas. If I am always doing the calculations, I just do the cross multiplications, or sometimes I know them off head. At this point, I know that 40% of the 300-gram badge is 120 grams, like when you do that over time. And so for this one, when you are converting the percentage to the weight, so the first one was a weight to a percentage, but this time you're converting a percentage to a weight, a percentage to a weight. The formula is, and this is where, this is the crux of the matter. So you can always, underline this or write this down if you're a beginner. So it's always going to be a total batch size multiplied by your desired percentage over 100. Okay, so the total batch size. So multiplied by the desired percentage, or the known percentage, divided by 100. So my total batch size is 300 grams. I know that the percentage is, let's say, 40%, but I want to know what is 40% of 300 grams. Instead of, going to Google to type what is 40% of 300 grams, you can just use the calculator on your phone and just do, 300 multiplied by 40 divided by 100. And so it's always the total bar size divided by, not the desired quantity, or by the known quantity in this case, divided by 100. So the known percentage rather. So the known percentage divided by 100. So for instance, 80%. I want to know the total bar size of the recipe was 300 grams, and they said the water amount was 80%. If I want to convert that to grams, how do I do it? Or if I want to convert that to ounces or whatever figure it is, how do I go about it? So let me stick to my grams, okay? Let me not mix the figures up. So 300 is going to be 300 multiplied by 80 divided by, so it's going to be the total batch size multiplied by the known percentage divided by 100. And so that's how you always get your your this thing. Now let's use the recipe. In this case, the recipe that she used, or she asked the question, the one that I shared that she asked the question on. So this is the recipe, and she wanted to, convert this to 250 grams. And so instead of just say, okay, the water amount is 253.75 grams, let me reduce that by 250. That's not how to recalculate formulas. That will mess you up if you do that. So for soap making, you can always, let's say, maybe you can double a recipe, you can triple a recipe and stuff like that. Cosmetic formulations or creams and lotions, you have to be a bit more critical about some of the things, because they have maximum usage rates and all those good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I am going to convert the percentage, the grams here into percentages, so I can reduce it. So you first want to calculate the percentages of each of these, and like the way we did it initially, like we did it for the 300-gram size, is the same thing. So I'm multiplying the total batch size by the by 100. Oh no, I'm multiplying my 100 by my desired my known my desired percentage. I'm actually now confusing myself. Divided by the total batch size. That's how I get my weight. Okay, so that's how what I'm going to do for each of them. So I'm getting the percentages for each of them. So my water percentage is 72.5. Then the same for the glycerin, the panthenol, the BTMS 50, cetyl alcohol, So this is how they are written. So when you pick my recipe book, this is generally how my recipe book looks like. I start with the percentages, and then when I want to reformulate, I just multiply it on my phone. So this is the percentage that we used. So this is the percentage that we used for the formula. So this is the percentage for each of the formula. My water amount is 72.5 grams. So that's if you still want to keep the formula the same way, then even if it's 100 grams, your water percentage has to be 72.5 grams. So if you want to resize this, I didn't want to use the 250 grams because that would be easy. You can do that yourself. But let's say 150 grams. I want to reduce to 150 grams. So we're using the same formula, 150 in this case will now be our whole batch size, which is equal to 100%. We know that the water percentage is 72.5. We don't know the quantity in grams. We do our cross multiplications again. I don't know, we multiply that by 100, we divide it by 100 like we usually do, and then we do our cross multiplications using our calculators and our computers and whatever it is that we are comfortable with, and then we come up with our quantity for the water. Now, in this case, this is for 150 grams. Okay, so at this point, we know that 72.5% of 150 grams, that's the total batch size, is 108.75 grams. So you can also opt to do this for all of it. But when it comes to converting the percentages to reducing the size of your recipe or even increasing it, it's actually a simple process. Just get the 1% of the recipes, so of the total batch of the recipe, 1% of the total batch size. So 150 grams. Get 1% of that. So 1% of that is 1.5 grams. You can use the formula that we use. Once you get the 1% of it, listen to this. Once you get the 1% of it, all that you need to do is to multiply the 1% of it, of the figure, or that figure that you got. In this case is 1.5. You multiply it by all the percentages. So you don't need to use a formula to recalculate. Just always get the 1% of it. When you multiply, for instance, the 150 grams, the 1% is 1.5. You multiply 1.5 by 72.5, it will give you the value in terms of grams. So it will give you this. You realize that the value here is the same as 108.75 as we did for the recipe, or as we did for the formula. The same way you multiply your 1.5 by the 3% for the glycerin, you get 4.5. If you use the recipe, you get the same value. So when you're converting your percentages to, let's say, once you get the percentage and you want to convert it to any size, you want to convert it to, let's say, 1000 kilograms or 500 grams or 600 grams, just get 1% of it. Once you get 1% of it, that's all that you need. Get 1% of the formula. That one you can always enter it into Google. What is 1% of 500 grams or something? And once you get that, just come and multiply that value by the percentage amount, and then you get your formula. So that's how to do this. Okay, I hope this has been helpful or confusing. So that's basically how to recalculate formulas. Let me take that again. Whenever you know the percentage of any recipe, all you need to do is to get 1% of the total batch size. Once you get 1% of the total batch size, use that value and multiply by the percentages. So the water percent is 72.5. Multiply that by 1% of the total batch size. You will get the value of that in grams. The same for all the other components of the recipe. Okay. All right. So basically, that's just what I wanted to point to bring out in this. If it's a bit confusing, you can always just come back and watch it just to get the understanding or the impulse of what I was trying to say. By the way, I'm left-handed. So if you are left-handed, you can say, "Hey, sis," in the comment section. Let me know if you're also left-handed. You have a son or a daughter or sister who is left-handed. You can also say that in the comment section. We rock, right? We rock. So If this was a bit twisting also for you, I apologize. But I hope this has been helpful, and thank you very much to my sister who sent in that comment. If you always have questions, put it in the comment section. When I have time, I'll make videos like this. This is a lengthy video. I didn't even know it was going to be this lengthy, just trying to explain these components. But I always try to be as helpful as possible. I hope this has been good, and I'll see you in the next videos. If you haven't subscribed and if you watched up to this point, please do subscribe to the channel, like this video, and then comment in the comment section, and let's get chatting and let's get going. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in our other videos. Bye bye.